What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL video. I hope you guys enjoyed my rankings of every offense in the NFL, ranking them from 32 all the way till 1. In this video, I'll be ranking all the defenses in the NFL, doing the exact same thing, using a criteria to rank these defenses. The way I ranked them was going through each position and ranking each position out of 10 for each individual team. So defensive line, linebackers, safeties, corners, all rated out of 10. I also factored in the coaching and the scheme that the defense takes part in and how good the coaching is, how much that impacts the defense as well. I hope you guys did enjoy the last video and you enjoy this video as well. If you haven't already subscribed to the Bottom Line View, make sure you do. Hit the like button, and here are my rankings for every single defense in the NFL going into the 2018 season. Enjoy. To me, the Colts defense is the worst in the league heading into the 2018 season, and it's not really a debate. After finishing 30th in yards and points in 2017, the Colts defense on paper got worse. They lost their best interior defensive lineman and their two best cornerbacks, and now they'll be relying a lot on a young core of players. Their best player is Jabaal Sheard, who is one of the most underrated edge players in the league. If this defense does have a strength, it is along the defensive line and up the middle. I do like Malik Hooker, who is a good free safety, and he's back from injury for the Colts, but their secondary is a mess, and definitely they have the worst cornerback crew in the league. The thing with Indy, really, to me, is this is truly a no-name defense. I'm almost positive that most NFL fans couldn't name more than 3 guys on this entire defense. The bright side to me is it's a young unit that does have some potential within it. So if you're a Colts fan, at least you can move forward with that. At number 31, I have the Detroit Lions. Matt Patricia has his work cut out for him on the defensive side of the ball in 2018. I really thought that I'd rank the Lions higher on this list, but I really just can't. This defense just doesn't have a lot of talent. Up front, the Lions have struggled to get any consistent pressure from just about anybody, especially from the interior rush. Ezekiel Ansah you would consider to be their big sack guy, but he's very sporadic. In some games, he's off the charts great, and in other games, he's a complete ghost. Jarrad Davis will be asked to carry the linebacking core in just his second season after a very mediocre rookie year. They added 2 career backups who I do think are decent players in Christian Jones and Devin Kennard, but once again, I'll say it again, they are career backups. Secondary has Darius Slay, who's a phenomenal corner, and Glover Quinn, who's a great safety. But the opposite safety, Tavon Wilson, did not play very well last year, and their cornerback position lacks any significant depth. It seems like Patricia will have to do a lot to piece together any sort of defense in 2018 to really get anything out of this talent. At number 30, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers defense is one of the more intriguing ones entering 2018. It has loads of untapped potential. I think the signing of Sherman was honestly a great one that I think will help lead the team and form this defense as a complete unit. They have young studs at all 3 levels in Buckner, Foster, and Tart, but around them is the issue. Defensive line has multiple high picks in recent years. Solomon Thomas, Eric Armstead, who these players have just not lived up to the hype, and they're just sitting there not really producing. At linebacker, Corey Toomer, I think, was a solid pickup from the Chargers, and I think he will help, but overall, they are going to need many young, relatively unproven players to play crucial roles in 2018. It could rather go brilliantly, or it could go horribly wrong for the 49ers in 2018. At number 29, the Kansas City Chiefs. The biggest thing with the Chiefs is they need a pass rush outside of Justin Houston. It's non-existent, and that includes Dee Ford. Pair that with lackluster corner play, and you are in for a disastrous pass defense in 2018. Yeah, they did add Kendall Fuller, who is an awesome slot cornerback, but they lost Marcus Peters, and that certainly does detract from what the Chiefs have been all about. Big plays on defense. The inside linebacker tandem of Hitchens and Ragland could be one of the better ones in 2018, and if you're a fan, you do hope that this tandem can improve the run defense, because the run defense has been the Achilles heel of Kansas City. The bad run D has cost them, and it cost them last year versus the Titans in the playoffs. But hey, Eric Berry is back, so that's pretty cool. At number 28, the Oakland Raiders. I actually like the Raiders defense more than this ranking would lead you to believe. Believe it or not, I think that this unit improved. I like the Whitehead and Melvin adds at linebacker and corner. But there has to be reasons why I have them so low. And you're right, there are reasons. With the rumor that Bruce Irvin is going to play more linebacker in 2018, that means the pass rush is over-reliant on Khalil Mack. Although that's a pretty good player to be reliant on, you can't have just one guy being the only guy to pressure the quarterback. Outside of Melvin and possibly an improved Connolly, the cornerback position is very, very shallow. They don't really even have a proven slot corner on the team. Free safety is probably their most up-in-the-air position beside Carl Joseph at strong safety, but I think it comes down to their play at linebacker. If Whitehead, Lemur, and Irvin can play well enough, this defense does have promise. If not, I think it could be ugly. At number 27, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are one of those defenses that I think can have some great games, but they can also equally have some terrible ones. The Dolphins' strength lies on the edge of their defense. Cam Wake and Robert Quinn could be a scary duo at defensive end, but they did lose their best defensive player in the offseason, Ndamukong Suh. So the D-tackle position is a concern, and they didn't really draft anyone to replace him, as well as the run defense up the middle. I think the team's secondary is a bit overlooked, though. Xavier Howard had some really nice outings last year. Rashad Jones is a Pro Bowl safety. TJ McDonald is back. I really like rookie Minkah Fitzpatrick, who can do just about everything for a defense. The best way to describe the Fins' defense is to say it's a lot like their linebacking core. Not very good, but not really terrible either. At number 26, the G-Men have undergone a big change on the defensive side of the ball. They're switching to more of a 3-4 base defense, which will make this transition an intriguing one to watch. Because of the switch, it makes the G-Men a challenging team to evaluate on the defensive side of the football. What I do know is that the Giants do have a stud at every level of their defense. They do have Damon Harrison on the defensive line, Olivier Vernon as a pass rusher, Collins and Jenkins in the secondary. You may notice I didn't mention linebacker there. That's because the linebacking core is pretty sketchy. Will Ogletree be the savior? I'm not exactly sold on that one. My other question comes from depth concerns, specifically pass defense. Who penetrates as a pass rusher outside of Olivier Vernon? Will it be the rookie Lorenzo Carter, newly acquired Kareem Martin? There will also be an open competition at slot corner, as they currently don't have one on the roster after releasing DRC. And Darian Thompson as your free safety isn't really reassuring to me. At number 25, the Cleveland Browns. Like many early on in this countdown, the Browns have had years of poor defensive play, but the future does look somewhat bright for them. Myles Garrett looks like he will be a stud. Denzel Ward could be the star of the secondary, and the linebacking core is pretty promising. But still, holes remain on the Browns' defense, specifically safety and interior defensive line. The Browns safety duo is the worst in the NFL in my eyes, which will do no favors to the back end of this defense, specifically because they have a lot of younger players that are growing into their positions. The front seven is actually pretty good, specifically in run support. I do like the signing of Michael Kendricks at linebacker to add speed and leadership, but overall, the Browns have a decent front seven with a relatively poor back end, and I think that's where they remain one of the worst defenses in the NFL. At number 24, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills defense is a tale of two units, the front seven and the secondary. Let's start with the good. The secondary is one of the more underrated in the NFL. They have a dynamic safety duo, as well as a top corner in Tre'Davious White, who played just as well as fellow rookie Lattimore in New Orleans. They also added Vontae Davis, who, when on his game, is pretty darn good. Sean McDermott is one of the better defensive coaches in the NFL. The linebacking core, though, is the issue with the Bills, and I'm highly skeptical. Outside of Tremaine Edmonds, who is a rookie, that's not a good middle of your defense. They did upgrade their interior defensive line with Star Lotulelei, although I believe he's overpaid. I like the signing of Trent Murphy as well. I'm just concerned in games they won't get enough pressure on quarterbacks, and then those same quarterbacks will have the ability to pick apart their middle of their defense with their weak linebackers. Coaching and players in the secondary can't really do anything when your linebackers can't cover and your defensive linemen can't get pressure. At number 23, the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are led by the NFL sack leader, Chandler Jones, and he's looking to do it once again in 2018. But he'll have to do it in a new system, more of a 4-3 system under new defensive coach and head coach Stephen Wilkes, formerly the Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator. Switching from 3-4 base to 4-3 base will be pretty interesting. Probably less blitzing, more coverage defense, and that could be beneficial for certain groups on this defense. Hassan Reddick will be one of them. I think he'll move to more of a stand-up style of linebacker role where I think he fits better and will join the hybrid safety Buchanan and newly added Josh Bynes, who replaces Carlos Dansby in the middle of that defense. Tyrann Mathieu is gone, so that means Budda Baker time in Arizona. The Cardinals' killer, to me, defensively, has to be their depth behind Patrick Peterson at cornerback. That remains to be a question heading into 2018. At number 22, the Seattle Seahawks. We are far away from the days of the Legion of Boom. Multiple players of the legendary Hawks defense has departed. That still doesn't mean their defense is putrid by any means, but I don't see it as a top 20 unit. Their strength is at linebacker with Wagner and Wright, and they also added Mingo, which I think will be good. And the secondary is actually not that bad, as long as Earl Thomas does stick around. If Earl Thomas leaves, this defense takes a significant hit. Shaq Griffin is an upcoming corner in the league. Coleman is a good slot corner, and Byron Maxwell seems to play well for the Seahawks, so that's cool. To me, the concern is the defensive line, specifically against the run. It's a very small line with a lot of speed, but not a lot of big bodies, and they could definitely get rammed in that area. Although this is not the same defense as the past Seahawk teams, the coaching is always good, and it's good enough to at least have a decent unit at 22. At 21, one of the more improved teams on the defensive side of the football, the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Bucks had the worst pass rush in football in 2017. Then they just upgraded and upgraded some more, adding JPP, Vinny Curry, Vita Vea. The list goes on. The defensive line is now one of the deepest in football. Throw in two dynamic backers with David and Quan Alexander, and you have a pretty nasty front. The Bucs secondary, though, is still one to worry about. The cornerback position is full of rookies and question marks, and the safety spot is just straight up bad. While the Bucs defensive line is greatly improved, their inability to cover with consistency probably will cost them in 2018. At number 20, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers defense in 2018 should be significantly improved from the unit that last played in 2017. The issue for the Pack has never been the front seven. They've always had a pretty good front seven and always one of the better run defenses in the NFL under McCarthy. Even the pass rush hasn't been all that bad at times. In Green Bay, it's all about the secondary, specifically corner. The inability to just play man-to-man when they need to has killed this team over and over and over again. The Packers added some significant talent to the corner position with Jari Alexander in the first round, Josh Jackson in the second round in the draft, also joining second-year player Kevin King and veteran Tramon Williams, as well as Pro Bowl caliber free safety, Clinton Dix, my favorite name. I love that name. The Packers front seven should also be improved with the addition of a motivated Muhammad Wilkerson from the Jets. Depending on his form, this front could be pretty dominant alongside Kenny Clark and Mike Daniels. You still have Nick Perry and Clay Matthews coming off the edge, and the duo of Martinez and Ryan at inside linebacker is pretty good. Strong safety is probably their biggest area of weakness after losing Morgan Burnett. To me, though, the Packers just need to answer whether or not that secondary is truly improved or not. If they are, the Packers could be a serious contender in 2018. Coming in at number 19, the Washington Redskins. You know what? The Redskins, I think they actually have some talent on defense when they're all on the field. That's the biggest weakness of the Skins, is staying healthy. And when they do, this defense is actually kind of talented. The other weakness of Washington has been the run defense, no doubt. That is why, in the past 2 drafts, the Skins have upgraded their front with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne in the first round, which should drastically improve this area. Ryan Kerrigan is still a very good edge defender. Preston Smith is pretty good as well. Pernell McPhee was added for insurance. Zach Brown is a beast in the middle. But the biggest position of question is the safety spot. Cravens and Hall are both gone. I like Swearinger, but who will join him in the back end? They traded Fuller in the Alex Smith deal, which was pretty dumb, but a healthy Orlando Scandrick will do a respectable job in my opinion. And as long as Josh Norman brings his swagger and edge, I like the Skins defense to have a mini bounce back this year under Greg Minuski. At number 18, the Dallas Cowboys defense isn't as bad as people think. It gets a lot of hate, but to be honest, you could argue that they were the better unit in 2017 than the offense. The defensive line was destructive last season. DeMarcus Lawrence broke out for a huge season off the edge. Yes, he's currently suspended, but David Irving was also extremely productive as an interior pass rusher. And it's not just those two. They're also deep along the defensive line with Taco Charlton, Coney Ely, Tyrone Crawford. And at linebacker, Sean Lee is one of the best in the game. That is, when he's healthy. Now, that being said, the other players are kind of questionable, which makes you believe if Lee does get hurt, they could be in danger once again. That's why they did address the position with Leighton Vander Esch in the first round, but I'm not sure if he'll be ready to be an impact player in year 1. The safety spot isn't great, but it is better than people think. Byron Jones is a guy that can line up at corner or safety. Xavier Woods wasn't bad in his first season, and Jeff Heath took that step up as arguably their best safety last season. Corner doesn't have great depth, but the rookie duo of last season should only improve in their sophomore campaign. And with a dangerous pass rush, the Cowboys defense can dominate opposing offensive lines. That can't be said for many defenses in this league. That being said, their young, growing secondary will need to improve for them to take the next step as a unit. And oh yeah, Sean Lee, stay healthy, please. At number 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers' defense did make some strides forward in 2017. And probably that's because the most underrated part of the Steelers team, their defensive line, it's actually pretty awesome. Cam Hayward had an explosive 12-sack season. Stephon Tuitt is very good as well. Hargrave is a sneaky good pass rusher for a traditional nose tackle. The secondary is probably the best it's been in seasons coming into this season, with Morgan Burnett added to the mix as a flex element to the defense with his capability to play in the box as a strong safety or maybe even a little bit as a linebacker. You can do worse than Hayden and Burns on the outside at corner, and Mike Hilton was one of the game's best slot corners last season. The question I have about the Steelers' defense is the linebacker position, specifically inside. They were gashed multiple times up the middle of their defense last year. They added John Bostic to hopefully slow that down, but you have to wonder if he will be enough to help replace Ryan Shazier. At number 16, the key to the Carolina Panthers defense is and always has been Luke Kuechly. If Kuechly is on the field, the Panthers defense will likely play well. Panthers enter the season without longtime captain Thomas Davis on the field, serving a 4-game suspension. That means it will be Shaq Thompson time and his time to shine. I like the signing of Dontari Poe to the interior defensive line, which is a crucial spot in the Panthers' defensive scheme. He will join Kawan Short, who is maybe the most overlooked defensive tackle in the NFL. Where the Panthers have trouble is and always has been on the back end, corner and safety. The Panthers signed Denoris Searcy to play alongside veteran Mike Adams at safety and drafted Dante Jackson to play corner, with Bradbury, who is okay, Captain Munnerlyn, who is also still there. They also have Ross Cockrell, who they brought in, who could end up being an underrated signing. Either way, the Panthers' defensive strength is dictated by their front seven. At number 15, the New York Jets. I think a lot of football fans are sleeping on the Jets as a team, especially their defense. Under Todd Bowles, this defense is fast, it's aggressive, and it's tough to handle with all that they can throw at you. The defensive line features Leonard Williams, who is a complete monster. Steve McClendon is great versus the run, and Henry Anderson is underrated, at least to me. The linebacker area is the area of concern for me, even with the addition of Avery Williamson from the Titans. But that could be solved if Darren Lee does improve. The secondary is scary good. Adams and May are arguably the best young safety duo in the league. Tremaine Johnson is shut down, and add him to proven vets Claiborne and Buster Screen, and that's a tough unit. If this unit can play to its potential, it will allow Bowles to be more creative up front, and I think the Jets could have a pretty good defense in 2018. At 14, the Bengals have really nice depth in their front seven, one of the deepest in the NFL. Geno Atkins is one of the game's best interior defenders. Vontaze Burfict, no matter how much you don't like him, you have to admit he's pretty good. Carlos Dunlap is still dangerous off the edge. Carl Lawson is getting to that level, and Michael Johnson isn't bad either. Plus, Cincy added the NFL's leading tackler, Preston Brown from the Bills. Not even mentioning in the draft, I think they had a good one. They added Sam Hubbard and Malik Jefferson to this front seven. This front can withstand injuries and suspensions and still play well, get after the quarterback, and stop the run. The back end isn't full of superstars, but it isn't a pushover either. William Jackson ranked 8th by Pro Football Focus last season at the corner position. Dennard is a good slot cornerback, and Dre Kirkpatrick matches up well with tall receivers. A lot of people are picking the Bengals to disappoint this year, but I think the Bengals defense has something to say about that. At number 13, here come the Patriot haters now. Oh, you're biased, you bandwagoner. Well, let me explain. The Patriots defense, I think, will be much better in 2018. And that's interesting to say since this was the NFL's 5th best scoring defense last year. But everybody only remembers the Super Bowl. And of course, they will. The Patriots' issues as a team all stemmed from their ability to not get pressure last year, and it was entirely on one man, Trey Flowers. But in 2018, Trey Flowers has some help. Adrian Claiborne signed from Atlanta. Derek Rivers returns from injury. Dietrich Wise gains a year of experience after playing a ton in 2017. And their most important defensive player, Dante Hightower, is back. Kyle Van Noy will join him at linebacker after having a semi-breakout year. They added the monstrous Danny Shelton to help their run defense. The Pats have one of the best safety groups in the NFL, as well as a shutdown cornerback and in Stephon Gilmore. Jason McCourty replaces Malcolm Butler, and there is solid competition for the slot job with returning Jonathan Jones battling it out with second-rounder Duke Dawson. If anyone can fix the issues that plagued the Patriots in 2017, it's Bill Belichick, and I'm willing to bet on him. Cam Jordan is one of the game's best defensive players, but this year he is surrounded by some quality talent. Rankins is a big man who can rush the passer. Okafor and Davenport will add to the defensive end rotation. Demario Davis was a huge pickup in free agency and gives them a leader at linebacker. 4 quality cornerbacks the Saints do have now, with the add of Patrick Robinson, who was one of the best slot corners in the game last year. Dennis Allen has done a great job with this young defense, and I expect it to get better this season. At number 11, the Tennessee Titans. Harold Landry should upgrade their pass rush and join their rotation of edge rushers along with vets Arakpo and Morgan. Their front is solid and has been one of the game's best run-stuffing units led by Jarrell Casey. Rashaan Evans is a rookie that I loved in this draft for his all-around ability. Kevin Byard is a rising star at free safety and a playmaker. Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler are back together. They led the Patriots unit in 2016 to not only a Super Bowl victory, but to being the #1 defense in points allowed that year. And if Adoree Jackson can grow, the secondary could be one of the best in the game. The Titans added pass rush and corner help this offseason, which should allow them to reach that next level as a defense. With Dean Pease now in the rotation as the defensive coordinator and Mike Vrabel coaching them, I think the Titans are on the rise on the defensive side of the football. At number 10, the Baltimore Ravens. No Dean Pease, which will hurt their scheme from that perspective, but the Ravens still remain great in what they're known for, and that is defense. They have a solid blend of youth and experience. Check the Ravens depth chart. This secondary is very, very talented. Jimmy Smith, Brandon Carr, Marlon Humphrey, Tavon Young, Anthony Everett. The list goes on. Safeties are very talented, and they're veterans. They're experienced. They know what to do. Jefferson and Weddle are a great safety combination. Brandon Williams is a dominant run stuffer. T-Sizzle is still playing very well. And they have others that contribute in the pass rush department. CJ Mosley is a quintessential middle linebacker, leading the way for the Ravens in another great defensive year in 2018. At number 9, the Chicago Bears. Akeem Hicks is an absolute monster. Danny Trevathan and Roquan Smith could be one of the best linebacker duos in the NFL. Adrian Amos and Eddie Jackson, one of the top safety duos in football. Vic Fangio is a great defensive mind. The cornerbacks are fantastic and overlooked with Amukamara, Kyle Fuller, and also Callahan. Leonard Floyd, Aaron Lynch, Sam Aiko will man the outside linebacker position, and that might be an upgrade from last year. The Bears defense was already really good last year. You add a player like Roquan Smith, who's expected to be one of the best linebackers in football, to that mix, and I think the Bears might even be better on that side of the ball this year, so look out for Chicago. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons quietly had one of the best defenses in football last year. They once again have the talent to make it happen in 2018, specifically in the secondary, where they have loads of studs. Keanu Neal is one of the game's most feared safeties. Desmond Trufant is a shutdown corner. Poole in the slot. Alford as well on the outside. You add Isaiah Oliver from the draft. That's phenomenal depth. The Falcons did take a hit along the defensive line, losing Claiborne and Poe, but they still have talent there as well, with Beasley moving back to primarily defensive end. Grady Jarrett is a disruptor and has been long overlooked. And if you know me, talking this far about the Falcons defense without mentioning Deion Jones is probably a new record. At number 7, the Houston Texans. The Texans defense in 2017 was absolutely putrid, but that does tend to happen when you have multiple injuries, including one of the best defensive players of all time in J.J. Watt, and also a Pro Bowl player like Whitney Merciless, two of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. Those two guys are back, and not only are they back, but Romeo Crennel, the man that made this defense the #1 unit in the NFL in 2016, is back as well. The Texans defense is built off pressure. Whether that's via blitz or rush from one of their studs, it allows their back end to play with aggression, and because they did not have that a good chunk of the season last year, those corners were really out there getting burnt like toast. Another weakness of this defense has been coverage within the numbers. So adding Tyrann Mathieu, Aaron Colvin, and Justin Reed to the mix will certainly help this area big time. If the Texans corners can hold up, I have no doubt this defense will be scary in 2018. At number 6, the Broncos. Von Miller is one of the best pass rushers of all time. Bradley Chubb sounds like he's the next Khalil Mack. The best traditional 3-4 defense in the NFL is what the Broncos have. Brandon Marshall is an awesome all-around linebacker. He's fantastic in coverage. They won't be missing Talib much, in my opinion, because they've always had the depth there. Roby and Harris together at corner are great. And in my opinion, Talib was worse than Harrison, maybe even Roby last year. Their run defense was one of the best in the NFL last year, and at times so good that they almost kept Zeke to negative yardage in one game. It's pretty wild how much talent that this defense has gone through, but still have. Their linebacker core is loaded, one of the best in the NFL, with Barrett adding to Chubb and Miller and Marshall and Ray and Jewell and Todd Davis. The safeties are pretty decent as well. This defense really doesn't have any holes, to be honest, just places where they can improve with better talent. At number 5, the LA Chargers. Let's start off with Ingram and Bosa, arguably the most electric off-the-edge combination in the NFL. Hayward, Verrett, Desmond King, Trevor Williams. That's 4 deep at cornerback. Gus Bradley's one of the better defensive coaches, and he brings that Seattle scheme to the mix, which they executed perfectly last year. The weakness of the Chargers defense is inside at linebacker. Perryman, Jatavius Brown, Emmanuel. They have some guys there. They drafted as well at that position, but we'll see how it works out. I think it will be fine. I think it will be good enough. But they do need to improve their play on the interior defensive line with Legit and specifically Mebane. I think Mebane needs to be better, and I think he will be better this season. Also, Derwin James was the perfect safety for this scheme in the first round. This defense has an awesome blend of coverage, scheme, and pass rush. If they can stop the run a little bit better in 2018, I have no doubt this will be a top unit on defense in 2018. At number 4, the LA Rams. The Rams have a lot of potential on defense in 2018. Just as equally, though, some would say that they also have personalities that could clash. So call me a believer in the Rams by ranking them at number 4 in 2018. The Rams have the best defensive player in football, and that is Aaron Donald. He by himself is a major force and extremely difficult to stop. Add on top of that, you have Ndamukong Suh, who was once one of the best D tackles, if not the best D tackle in the game, Michael Brockers, Ethan Westbrooks, and Dominique Easley, and you have a loaded front there full of big, agile, aggressive dudes. You combine that front with Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, and Roby Coleman in the back end at corner, and you have a dangerous, top-notch defense that has the pass rush and coverage to shut down any pass attack with Wade Phillips at defensive coordinator. LaMarcus Joyner at free safety is also fantastic with his ability to almost play as a 4th corner. The issue with the Rams defense is there is a massive hole in the middle of their defense. That's where the linebackers should be. They have some okay ones like Mark Barron, but that's still not great, and their outside linebackers are mostly thrown together unproven players or rookies. So I love the Rams in 2 facets of their defense, but at linebacker is where the Rams are held up from joining the top 3. At number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. The line change on the defensive line is their most dangerous asset. Fletcher Cox is a monster. Brandon Graham is clutch. Derek Barnett is only getting better, and Chris Long is still around. Plus, they added Michael friggin' Bennett. Hicks is coming back from injury and will strengthen their linebacking core. He's fantastic in coverage. Although they did let go of Michael Kendricks, they still do have Bradham as well. Malcolm Jenkins is the leader of their secondary and arguably their defense. His versatility is absolutely crucial to this team's success. Secondary is the question to me with this unit, not really in a bad way, but just in an intriguing way. Who will step up with Patrick Robinson gone, and will Sidney Jones be a stud or not? Regardless, the Eagles are arguably the most well-rounded team in the NFL, and the defense is the engine. At number 2, the Minnesota Vikings. As long as the Vikings defense is under Mike Zimmer, it will remain one of the elite ones in the NFL. Last season, the Vikings finished 1st in points and yards allowed. Led by Harrison Smith, this defense has a knack for locking down the opponent's biggest threat, whether that's with Xavier Rhodes locking down the wide receiver, or Harrison Smith or Anthony Barr locking down a tight end, or the front stuffing the run. The Vikings defense can handle just about anything, and that's what I like the most. If you notice a trend throughout my top 7, it's probably that all these teams have at least 2 elite pass rushers. Vikings have dual edge rushers in Griffin and Hunter, 2 awesome linebackers, an all-pro cornerback, and safety. They added arguably the best cover corner in the draft in Mike Hughes and signed Sheldon Richardson to the defensive line. This defense should be just as good, if not better, in 2018. And at number 1, one of the all-time great defenses in my opinion, or at least on their way to being so, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars defense is the result when you put together the best pass rush and the best secondary in the NFL on one defense. The Jaguars defense has the chance to become a legendary unit. Last season, they were unbelievably dominant. So dominant, they led Blake Bortles to the AFC Championship game. Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue are outstanding off the edge. You also have Fowler and Smoot backing them up. The interior defensive line with Malik Jackson, Marcel Darius, Taven Bryan. This is just ridiculous. I could just name names forever. Telvin Smith and Miles Jack at linebacker can cover, stop the run, and run like corners. Safety is deep with Church and Gibson as starters, and Alabama's Ronnie Harrison adding to the rotation. The best corner duo in the NFL with Ramsey and Bouye, who are both shutdown guys. If this defense does have a weakness, it is probably their third linebacker and third corner positions. But as long as they stay healthy, this unit will once again dominate the NFL in 2018. I hope you guys enjoyed myself ranking every single defense in the NFL. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe for more NFL content. Leave your comments below what you think of my rankings, my list, and if you question any of them, please come with some good arguments and some good points. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Peace out.